The Department of Homeland Security pushing back on claims that officials obstructed investigations into Hunter Biden's alleged tax fraud. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer subpoenaed DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and 5 others on Tuesday. It comes more than a month after an IRS whistleblower claimed DHS and Secret Service employees interfered with the Hunter Biden investigation, allegedly tipping off the president's son. The DHS strongly denying those claims. Joining us right now, Republican strategist and NewsNation contributor Sean Spicer. Sean, good to be with you. Now, we all know that the accusations led to the plea deal that didn't happen for Hunter Biden. It became pretty anticlimactic after so much back and forth and testimony. How do the whistleblower claims that we've heard relate to the subpoena that has already been addressed with James Comer?
Well, I think there's a broader issue that the committee's trying to get at. They claim that on December 8th, there was an interview that they planned to have with Hunter Biden, and that FBI officials and IRS officials notified Secret Service because Hunter Biden would be a protectee and because the president was the president-elect at the time. And so they alerted Secret Service headquarters to let them know that they would be conducting this interview, and suddenly Hunter Biden's nowhere to be found. Look, I guess the question is they're trying to figure out how much there's a cover-up here, how much the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security were aiding the Biden team to prevent this information, this interview from occurring. Look, I get that they're doing this. I just have a feeling that as you mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security is going to push back and not make these records available. Yeah, but is there precedent here? I mean, do we know anything about what the DHS and the Secret Service usually do in cases like these? Well, what we know they don't do is tip off the witness. They're supposed to maintain protection, right? The question is, when the FBI and the IRS notify the Secret Service that they were going to execute this, did the Secret Service obstruct this? Meaning, did they say, let's make sure you're nowhere to be found. We don't want you to have to endure this interview from law enforcement. So the question is, I don't know if there's precedent or not, but the bottom line is that if this was anyone else, we'd be talking about obstruction of justice. Did another agency obstruct a federal agency, the IRS and the FBI in this case, from conducting their lawful right to conduct an interview? And I think there is something to be said for finding out what happened here. You know, Republicans have been on this like a dog on a bone, but there seemingly hasn't been enough evidence. And then isn't there the matter of this being beyond the statute of limitations? So what exactly could be gained from committee members from hearing this testimony? You know, Adrienne, the thing that I find, and I've said this all along, I had Congressman Jim Banks on my podcast yesterday, that this always gets to Hunter Biden may be the dirtiest, most criminal person in the United States. I've always believed, and I think Republicans need to make sure that they're focused on, if that's the case, that's fine. It's not great, but he's the president's son. He's a private citizen. If this doesn't lead to Joe Biden, that's the problem. That House Republicans have to show a nexus between the president of the United States, or then vice president of the United States, and Hunter Biden. If it's just a private citizen, which Hunter Biden is, acting badly, unfortunately, you know, that there's a lot of people in this country that engage in those kind of behaviors. Yeah, and that's, I mean, really, unless it was saying that Hunter Biden's shady or a slime ball is one thing, but then without any proof that it's linked to his father and that the president of the United States was somehow involved or was aware of information that would be a breach of national security, is this just a waste of time? Well, it's unfortunately, Joe Biden has given us the ammunition, right? He keeps saying, I wasn't involved. I had nothing to do with my son's business. I knew nothing of it. Then we see pictures, recordings, transcripts. We have eyewitness accounts that say that they were in the room when Joe Biden called. There is stuff that's come out of the laptop that has never been disproven, saying that he was giving money to his father. So the question is, there is evidence. And I think that Joe Biden himself has undermined his own case by sort of giving double talk to a lot of these accusations. I think Republicans have every right to look into this. My point more broadly, though, is that at the end of the day, they need to connect it to him, not just to Hunter Biden. Yeah, well, certainly it's creating a level of suspicion and distrust. And I will just say this, having personally gone through the Russia hoax and the false Steele dossier, I mean, I think for Democrats to sort of cry crocodile tears at this point, they didn't seem to have a problem when it was a manufactured document that their party put forward that spent millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer funds coming after Trump and Trump officials for what we now know was a massive hoax. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation
NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.